All right. Hello, everybody. I think we've got most of our folks in here from the waiting room. So, um, welcome to everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get started here. Our intention today is to run from noon until 1:15. And so, thank you so much for taking the time to come and be a part of our latest edition of the Rise Up Relaunch Lunches. The purpose of these lunches, for those who haven't had the chance to join, is to bring together folks from the arts and entertainment community as well as the hospitality industries to look at new ways of doing things and the way we've had to pivot and morph in the times that we find ourselves in, and what has worked for folks, what some organizations and artists have been trying, what's worked, what have we learned, and how can we continue to bring engaging, meaningful arts experiences to audiences. So hopefully, with it being the noon hour, you have your lunch in hand. You're ready for a great hour and 15-minute-ish conversation. My name is Sherry McMaster, and I am a consultant with Bird Creatives and Rise Up Calgary. I'll be moderating today. We also have three panelists who are joining us, who you'll see on your screens here. I'll introduce them momentarily. We also have an ASL interpreter. Tanya Adler is joining us today and will be interpreting for the duration of the conversation. Also on the screen is Sam Hindle. So Sam is working with us today as our tech support. So should you have any challenges with Zoom, any issues with being able to hear or not hear, you can chat directly to Sam. You can use the chat function, which is the button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and can chat to her, send her a private message if you wish, and she will be able to answer your questions and help you out. The other piece of the puzzle that we have going today is called Otter AI. You'll see up at the top of your screen on the top left corner where it says live on otterai.com or otter.ai. You can click on that if you wish. It'll open up another browser and it will give you a live transcription in English of the conversation that's happening should you wish to follow along on that front. So those are our pieces today. One more fun piece of business for this particular Rise Up lunch that I'm going to introduce to you is that by joining us today, you are all eligible for a wonderful prize. So Rob has graciously offered up a King Deluxe room, which is a 4-person room. The 4 guests that join you, should you be lucky enough to win, need to be from your own household. But it is for tomorrow night's show that is happening at the Delta Marriott South for Pink Floyd. And so if you would like to be entered to win this prize package, you can email me. Sam has just put my email address in there, sherry@birdcreatives.com. Send me an email by 4 p.m. today. We're going to make a draw from all the people who enter off of today's participation for tomorrow night's concert. And that's the room and the concert. So thanks very much to Rob for that. Before I get to the introductions of the panelists, I'd like to acknowledge where we are here today. We find ourselves very much in a virtual world, which is a bit different the way we're navigating these days. But the majority of us on the call, as well as our panelists, are here in Calgary, Alberta, which is traditionally known as Mohkinstsis. It's the heart of Treaty 7 territory and is the traditional lands of the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, and Métis Nation Region 3. Calgary is the confluence of the Bow Rivers and the Elbow Rivers, which has been a gathering place for centuries, and a place that people have come together for trade, for commerce, to share their traditions, their stories, and to build community. And in that spirit, that's why we're here today. So I welcome you all here today. We thank those who have come before us and this land and place that we call home. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce the panelists I've referred to. We have a great group of people with a wide breadth of knowledge and experience in arts, entertainment, community building, and hospitality. So first off is Rob Ciranowski. Rob is a multi-award winning Canadian music industry veteran with over 25 years of talent buying, booking, and promoter experience across Canada. In 1991, he joined one of the most successful nightclub groups, the Penny Lane Entertainment Group, which also owns Cowboys Dance Hall and the Cowboys Music Festival, and has been a founding member and talent buyer for them. He was the vice president for 4 years at one of Canada's top country music booking agencies, Invictus Entertainment Group, where he and his colleagues garnered 13 CCMA awards, and he was named the recipient of the Ron Sakamoto Talent Buyer and Promoter of the Year Award in 2015. He's represented a large number of Canadian artists and is on the board of directors for the Canadian Country Music Association for a second term, and is also a committee member on the Rise Up Committee for Rise Up Calgary. These days, as the president of Livestar Entertainment Canada, he has been able to bring live music back to audiences during COVID with his latest venture under Livestar, which is called Hotels Live. And I'm going to let Rob fill in all the details of Hotels Live today, but one thing to mention is, to date, by the end of the year, they will have produced 20 events with over 50 live performances and sold over 1,600 hotel rooms, grossing over $400,000 in ticket sales with 0 reported cases of COVID. So welcome to Rob. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks, Sherry.
Next, I'd like to welcome Christine Darren. Christine is the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Delta by Marriott Calgary South. She's originally from Vancouver and has a background in finance and corporate sales. She's been in marketing, business, and strategic development for over 20 years and has been the Director of Sales and Marketing at the Delta Marriott South since January of 2020. And while some might say that is a terrible time to shift your career to something new in light of the year that we've just had, she couldn't disagree more, being able to bring together a great group of talented team that thinks outside the box and is looking on business development and new creative ways of doing things. Through her career, she has also been involved and organized many nonprofits, events and gala events, and she has a background in dance. And with this much potential and to move forward in 2021, her and her team are really excited about the opportunity for new things and the partners that they can work on. The Delta Calgary South had their 40th anniversary last February, and they are owned by a local Calgary family. So that is Christine. Thanks so much for joining us, Christine.
Thanks for having me.
And excuse me, finally, last but not least, Mr. Jonathan Love. Jonathan is a performer with the a cappella group, the Heebie-Jeebies, who has had the opportunity to perform for Hotels Live at both the Ramada venue this summer, as well as the new Delta Atrium facility. So that's the background he brings, but wears many hats and plays many roles. He's a columnist for the Calgary Eye Opener on CBC Radio 1. He's a community arts ambassador and the new executive director of the Alberta Jubilee Auditoria Society. In addition to voicing and producing videos, commercials, and cartoons with his company Toonbox Media, he creates and performs regularly with the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra, the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra, and Honans. On screen, he's worked with Ang Lee and Kevin Costner, has appeared in many television productions. He is the co-founder to a very successful marriage to Legacy Lulu ambassador Kate Love. They have co-produced 2 amazing children who really loved Hotels Live Beatle tribute. And he's enjoyed 25 years singing songs for people as a founding member of the Heebie-Jeebies, which is Calgary's a cappella comic musical group. So, welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. Thanks, Sherry.
So we'll get into the conversation. I'll open things up at the end for questions and answers, but if you do have anything that you want to put into the chat, I'll be watching the chat for conversations. When we open it up to Q&A, if you'd like to turn on your camera and your microphone and speak at that time, that would be fantastic. And I'll kick things off with a few questions to get us going. Let's start with Rob. Rob, for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about Hotels Live? Where did the idea come from? What is it? How is it working? And just give us a brief background on what you've done so far.
Well, it's been a fantastic 6-month journey here, really. Once COVID hit and we all were frozen in the entertainment industry from doing live entertainment, we started looking outside and trying to find new ways to continue and to inspire and to bring live music back. I began conversations with some other local partners here, and I know one of them is on this call with Joel from Showpass, and they brought this concept over to me as a town buyer and a promoter, and had asked about what my thoughts were and where this could lead. And immediately I knew that this was something that we needed to do, and we conceptualized Hotels Live right there, and came up with a series that we ran throughout the summer and the fall at the Ramada Plaza Calgary downtown on their pool deck, where people viewed the shows from balconies, socially distanced in groups of 4 per balcony. And we set up stages right there on the pool deck and brought live entertainment in, and we brought the first live in-person concert back in Canada post-COVID on Canada Day with a Tragically Hip tribute act. And all of our shows that we brought, we managed to either use local entertainment or incorporate them as well. So we're very cognizant of the initiative in where we're rising up, really, ourselves and our community. We've enjoyed, this experience extremely. I mean, I don't know really anybody else that's run a concert series from the beginning of July right through till now and continuing to do it sustainably and creating hundreds of jobs for the arts and music communities, as well as the hotel and hospitality staff who have been, greatly affected by the pandemic. We've, happened to produce 15 events so far, right to the end of October, a few more now, and by the end of the year here on New Year's Eve, we will actually hit 20 events in 2020. So I just realized that today, and that was somewhat ironic, but we've been, as you'd mentioned earlier, been able to, do this all COVID-free, and been fortunate enough with this model that we've been able to prove that this can be a way to deliver live music entertainment, create jobs, and this should be in every city across Canada. So that's our mandate now moving forward, not only to launch this series here at the Delta, which is behind me here, our stage at the Delta Calgary South, but to plant the seeds in many other cities here in the fall and create a touring network where artists can tour from coast to coast, no matter what level they're at.
Rob, one question I have as a follow-up for that, and I will get to some things for sure for Christine and Jonathan, but one of the questions is AHS and the fact that you have been able to continue on doing what you're doing, now moving inside from the Ramada outside pool deck now into the atrium. What is it that you are doing that has allowed you to continue to have your AHS certification to keep doing these events?
Well, right off the bat, it's this model. We are classified, and hence why we can continue in December here with our events. We are classified under the same classification as a drive-in, where these balconies are considered your bubble, your vehicle of sorts, where people are socially distanced. We have plexi barriers between each balcony here in the atrium as well. And just a number of protocols in place. Being a hotel, especially here at the Delta Marriott family, they have very high standards. Temperature checks will take place, staggered check-in times. So we don't have everyone showing up at once. We consistently remind people, whether in between the bands and so forth, about what we're doing here and how important it is to respect each other and the rules. And if we can keep doing that, we can keep delivering live entertainment in this fashion and give this experience back where we need this the most right now. I wasn't going to settle for 21 or 22 to bring live music back and have groups gather again. This summer and fall at the Ramada Plaza, we were able to bring upwards of 400 people at a time to witness and experience, sing and dance from their balconies to live music and connect with those bands and the community itself, which is, something we all need these days. And music has a way of, bringing us together and healing. And we quite often had people in tears, including, bands. And, it's great to keep this going.
Thanks, Rob. That's fantastic. You had started off at the Ramada, and which was an lovely outdoor venue. I do have some pictures of the Ramada venue and then the Delta venue that we can do a little slideshow here in a second. But I'm going to move to Christine. obviously, doing things on a pool deck in December in Calgary can be challenging. And so, Christine, your facility has an indoor atrium with balconies that Rob has now moved the hotels live to. So, what was it about this particular, as a hotelier? What is it about this kind of particular model and event that attracted you to say, yeah, let's do this in our space? Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, well, what I was saying before about just being brainstorming, we were looking at the model of like in Italy where they were singing the opera on the balconies, and we had a lot of weddings that were really upset that they couldn't go and we couldn't do anything with over 50. So we were looking at small ideas with using the balconies. So it was something that we always had in the background. Joel, we were connected with him in the summer, and that was that. Like, it's really for us, it's the partnership that we need to be successful. That is not our forte or in our wheelhouse. We can do fundraisers and corporate events and all the other things, but to have that, the bigger events and the music is something I was like, where do I begin to look? I'm not from Calgary. It's, all of that. So partnering is really what's helped us the most. And just, like Rob mentioned, we were kind of like, we're quiet right now because some of with marketing perception is very hard. To have that go out there. But when I did get invited to see at the Ramada, I went to see Elton Ron. It truly is impressive, the feeling of that private box and that experience. And so it just all kind of grew bigger and bigger. And besides the Hotels Live, we do have other events as well, some private events and some charity events. But there's way more that we're able to do on other fronts, not just music. Which is kind of things that we look at, different wellness on the balconies. And we had a staycation with kids and Santa and things like that. So it becomes truly a thing with hospitality that we can look at everything, but definitely helps. And the model is just pretty much, it's just in the bag now, right?
Great. Maybe I'll share a few. I'll share a few photos here, Rob, of and Christine of the properties. So these start off showing the Delta, or sorry, the Ramada, where it happened in the summer, and then on to the Delta, just to give those who may not have seen the space what it looks like. So let me see if I can do this little piece here.
Maybe I'll just describe it, Sherry. The picture for people.
Thanks, Jonathan. Here we go. Let's try this.
On a stage with stringed instruments.
Okay, here we go. I think I have it. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay. So here we are. This is the Ramada Hotel. So I'm going to let these play through just to give folks an idea of what the space looks like. This was down onto the pool deck. And as Christine has talked about your own private box, looking up here at the audience, some of the stage setting. Rob, if you have anything that you'd like to add in to some of these photos and how.
Yeah. George Antonio from Pulse Concert Works has been integral in this whole project, in what he's been able to deliver and bring for this experience, and to set something up like this on a rooftop of a hotel is no easy feat. And there's a number of hoops we had to jump through to get there, and this is the culmination of that. And I know George is also on our call here today, and he's been busy actually throughout the week here at the Delta setting up a spectacular show for Pink Floyd here this weekend, and including a laser light show. So it's great to have him on board as well. My wife Leslie as well is a big component in bringing this all together for us. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes. The Show Pass folks obviously as well have been integral. So it's great to have a good team. The Ramada, Plaza Calgary downtown, and now the Delta. We've all come together to make this happen. And that's the only way that we can actually bring artists in now and do this, organically. So I'm really proud of our team and thankful that we continue, to be able to forge forward. And fortunately enough, in this case, at this time, we are the only live music venue in all of Alberta, and in some cases around the world. So I'm happy and thrilled. And there's the picture there of the Delta from the Liver Foundation charity event that we had. That right now is DJ Cobb playing on Halloween, where we kicked things off here in the atrium. Quite spectacular. People danced on Halloween in costumes. We brought dance back, which was great. I mean, nightclubs are closed and people haven't been able to dance, for, in groups for a while. So we had a big dance party. So that was fun, where we brought live music back this summer. We brought dance back here in the fall, and we'll continue with, theatrical events, comedy events, fundraising initiatives. And this is why we're here. We want to open this up to the community, to Calgarians, to producers here, to see what else we can do. This is a space we've now constructed here for us to do, to run events, and we can do it safely, and we can enjoy the benefits of the arts.
Great. Jonathan, maybe I'll come over to you. As a performer, you had the opportunity to perform at both the Ramada and as well as for one of the fundraisers that has used this space for in the Delta. So as a performer and as an artist, the opportunity, what's your experience and your take on this kind of a space? Because it's not a traditional, let's do a show space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sherry. First of all, I just want to say it's so nice to see everybody, and I just appreciate all the innovation that's going on in this regard and in so many other initiatives that we're trying to get started, because it's so important that we do this for artists, for event people, and for the patrons. We do need this all to happen. So I guess speaking on behalf of an artist with my artist hat on, playing these two venues certainly was emotional. For sure. When you haven't gigged for a handful of months, it's like they say, it's like getting back to the gym. Those muscles, you kind of got to keep working. I say that as if I go to the gym. You see how I did that, Sherry? Anyway, so it was fantastic to be able to be called upon by Rob and his team. I will say, at the Ramada, in the open air environment, going into sort of late fall, we got to open for the Caverners, and they were the Beatles tribute band, and it was phenomenal. It'll say in our press release that we opened for the Beatles forever now, just so you know. But they were fantastic. They were accommodating. But the nice thing is, Hotels Live made it safe for us. We felt safe as performers. We felt safe working with George and his incredible team. Thank you very much for your work on some great sound that way. And we had our own spaces, so we were able to socially distance. We were able to socially distance on stage, which isn't always something that people can do. As an a cappella group, it's a little bit tough, to tell you the truth, because you have to try to stay as close as possible together to keep your tuning intact, to hear everybody. And so we're used to being a pretty tight ensemble in that way. But again, with George's great sound and the support we received that way, we were able to socially distance and wear masks when the restriction called for it, and make sure that was a comfortable scenario, or as comfortable as possible for us. I guess it's weird seeing so many singers and performers on this, to think of that skill set being dangerous. Now it's going to say, the heebie-jeebies do all their own stunts, because this is all death-defying. But I will say, moving into the Delta was a great experience once again, because most of us were worried that, hey, we got one or two shots at doing this type of thing. Calgary winter is a factor. We can't always perform comfortably outside, certainly for our voices and health, but our equipment as well. So the Delta made that nice and easy. I mean, as we talked to George about, it started off as singing in a bit of a racquetball court. But we were able to make the sound accommodating and make it work for our purposes. And again, Hotels Live just does a great job in doing it. Christine and her team were so accommodating, so welcome, and any of the just sort of the logistics of how we were served meals, and as a part of our rider we need to make sure that we had waters available to us and that type of thing, a space available to us, and that was all accommodated with the utmost safety precautions and certainly respectful delivery. So it was awesome.
That's great. Thanks very much for all that, Jonathan. So
can I just jump in with one more thing, Sherry?
Please, yeah.
Because the best part of it was the fact that we were able to look at everybody. And that's not something that you get to do in all concert venues, but we were able to look at everybody and see their reaction when the community gets there. And, as Rob said, there were people welling up who haven't been to a show in over a year in some cases. And see their reaction. We did the ball gowns and balconies event, the Liver Foundation fundraiser. We had people dressed up in their wedding attire, dancing to every song that we do, and that's tough to do with an a cappella group. But it shows how much people need this in their lives and how important this is in our community. So that was the piece that, to tell you the truth, I went away smiling. From each of these experiences because of that.
Very cool. That's great. Jonathan, you've talked about how, you did this fundraiser. So this space is available. Obviously, Rob, you're programming it with your shows that you have done, but the intention of this space is not that this is a Live Star space that's only going to do these types of shows. The hope and part of the conversation today is to let people know that these kinds of opportunities exist and the opportunity for others to use the space. Is that accurate? and Rob, what do you have to add? Would you like to add to that? And Christine as well, as far as how could this work for others to use this space for their own artistic endeavors?
Yeah, absolutely, Sherry. We are, we've built the infrastructure here in place for that purpose, and we want to service, the community of Calgary. And we are open for discussions on how to make that work. And it's not always easy. In this case, we have, 51 rooms, which, 46 of them are sellable for us. So it's not always easy to make the model work. You almost have to, sell out most shows to make that work in our cases. But there are ways that we can fine tune things, and we'll work with the community. We're working with the hotel and, not-for-profits as well, which we would like to, work with as well to come into this space. We've, we're building some pricing points for, rental if another promoter, for example, would like to come in, or other groups that might want to come in and do an event here. So we worked with the Canadian Liver Foundation and with Christine and her team at the Delta to provide production for their event that they brought in. And, they were able to raise in excess of $50,000 from that one night's event, whereas fundraisers or charitable foundations these days cannot gather in the same fashion and raise funds. So we've created a space where we can. The hospitality side of this is going to really, that's really exciting now, because the Delta is stepped up with a few initiatives here to offer that experience of hospitality, and we all enjoyed fine dining within our rooms on that event. And there's all kinds of things where we're offering a menu that we're about to launch for New Year's Eve, and you can have a fine meal in your room and experience a concert and have a hotel to stay in overnight after enjoying this. So there's a great experience here for everyone. I encourage everyone to come back, have these discussions with Christine and myself, and we can fine tune more events here. And that's the whole purpose. We want to keep this going, not only during COVID times, but post-COVID, because there's an experience here to be offered, and one that the people that are coming to tomorrow night's and Saturday night show will attest to.
That's great. Christine, just following up on that, when we had spoken earlier, you talked about, and I mentioned this on the premise of those who are on the call that may have fundraising events or galas or things that they typically would do as fundraisers or champion building for their own organizations. This is an option to do something like this and also to partner for. You were mentioning wine pairings and
Mhm.
meals and those kinds of things. So to add on a full event package is also something for folks to keep in mind moving ahead. Can you talk a little bit more about those sorts of hospitality benefits?
Yeah, exactly. Our executive chef is Mike Frayne, and he's worked at Mission Hills Winery and Notable and Nash. So the level of the culinary side with us is definitely a bit above and beyond what your regular, I would say, hotel is. So we're looking with different partners. We've partnered like with Wedding Fair, like any kind of event you can think of that needs something. You have the brides with the fashion show, they can't do any of that, but then we can bring that experience to the package. So every concept would be a bit different, and every kind of theme we can change. We have the Ukrainian New Year for January, so we have a fundraiser there. So it's big Ukrainian band and pierogies on the menu. It just depends what someone looks like is needing, and then we can kind of create that model and make it so it just wows their guests for coming in as well. It has our service. It has George taking care of everything on that side. He's saved my whatever before with just a private event and coming in last minute to save it. But sometimes that's, to bring everyone together, it's everything, right? It's from our housekeepers having to flip the rooms for a back-to-back night, our event staff and everyone. But definitely that experience is what we're looking to achieve here at all levels. It really doesn't matter. I don't think there's any idea that we wouldn't look at. I always say there's 7 days a week. So if there's something that we can do on a Wednesday, or some of the wine pairing with, we've got wineries coming in, some local, some from BC. I'd love to have some music, during that time as well, to set up tables on those balconies and couples to experience that. It's a different market, right? So everything just depends what you're looking for and what's needed. But definitely any kind of opportunities to run it by either one of us. Nothing's too small, I would say. There's always some place, whether it be maybe bringing in 3 partners and seeing what opportunities we could do as well, right?
Mm-hmm. What I love about this is the idea of thinking outside the box, and you mentioned that in your bio that you've been able to put together a team that's thinking outside the box and looking at new opportunities. I think Rise Up is as much about the arts and entertainment industries as it is about the hospitality sector. And I know something at Rise Up that we've talked about is how could some of these hotel spaces and hospitality spaces be used in different ways. So I think you guys are a great example of doing that, and I think there's opportunities for others that what I would just challenge everybody on the call, regardless of panelists, guests, is how could let's try to think about some new ways of using spaces. And I think this is a really inspirational way of doing that. So thanks for that. Rob, what you've mentioned this, you want to talk to nonprofits and that. I know you've been working on some pricing models and those kinds of pieces. If there's folks on this call that are thinking, hey, I have a such and such, and I'd really like to do something in February,
Yeah.
what do you see as sort of next steps, and what are you looking for in partners? What do people need to bring to the table to have this kind of thing work in this space? And then perhaps that's a springboard for folks that are thinking of other underutilized spaces that they might want to use. What is it as a partnership you need?
Well, I mean, it just starts with the conversation, really. This is really it. My email address is rob@livestar.ca, and I'm open for business. So let's talk, Calgary, and let's see what we can do. You know,
Perfect.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Any idea is there are no bad ideas, I guess
No. I mean, I know Jane Mitten from Plain Jane Events is also on this call. She actually promoted an event at Hotels Live at the Ramada Plaza, Calgary downtown, and has worked with us in many aspects. She's a great independent promoter here in town, and she hosted the world's first hotel balcony drag show, and during Calgary Pride Week. And it was fantastic. And we have plans to continue that as well here at the Delta in the new year. So, I mean, it's just another great way to, show our diversity and what we can come up with here as a collective. And again, there's no bad ideas or suggestions, and I'd love to talk with everyone about it and see what we can do. That's why we've done this. So we're open for business.
Fantastic. I'd like to invite anybody who's got any questions or wants to share any of their experiences or stories, questions, ideas. Please feel free to throw them in the chat, or if you would like to, you can put your hand up, as Linda has just done. On the very bottom, under participants, it gives you the opportunity to raise a hand. I'll watch for those and call upon people. So first up, we do have Linda, who's got her hand raised. Linda, do you want to come on screen and ask your question or tell your story?
Hi, yes, that sounds good. My name is Linda. And first of all, I'd like to thank you all for these great lunches. I've attended all of them, and it's been very inspirational, especially during these times. And I actually have a question for Rob. And I attended one of your live events at the Halloween. So thank you for letting me dance again. That was fantastic. And I'd say definitely one of the highlights of this year. And I guess I'm interested in how many people are part of your team to plan and execute these hotels live events?
Yeah, I mean, we are a small but mighty team. As I alluded to earlier, I mean, I've always acted in most parts as an independent, and I love the spirit of independence and being able to pivot quickly, and I mean, our team really consists of my wife, who handles IT, a whole bunch of other aspects. She's kind of the glue that holds a lot of things together, Leslie. So, I can't thank her enough for everything she's done, and she's done it pretty much all gratis because of our cause. So that sort of spirit also is welcome here. No one's getting rich. It's not about that. It's about the cause of what we're doing and bringing live music back and bringing the joy and spirit back to Calgarians here through that. George from Pulse Concert Works is a huge component. He's integral. He's been able to financially make this feasible. Not anyone can just do this, and equipment can be expensive, and not to mention the creative side. So he's integral part to this team too. And then all the partners that we work with, from the hotels to the Show Pass folks, and then the artists. I mean, this is what it's all about. Luckily, I've had the experience of meeting a lot of artists over the years, and including the local ones here, and they came first to mind as far as when this concept came up, that this is where we need to begin. We have to start somewhere, and this is where we need to begin. And until we can link our arms together across the country and rise this all up, that's where it starts. But so we're a small but mighty crew. We're passionate about what we do. I mean, I'm up at 4:30 and we're going to bed at 12:30. We're doing our best. We're doing our best.
I really appreciate that, and thank you to both of you for bringing the spirit back this year. And thank you so much.
Thank you for your business and coming in and believing in it. And I mean, I know that many people that have come love the experience, and they come back. And we've got a group of people, and I know some of them are on this call that come to almost every show. And I thank you, and I thank all of you for embracing this. I think that there's more to come, and this is just the beginning.
Yes, I think absolutely fantastic concept and idea. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Rob, Joel Camps has put in a question into the chat group. It's is Livestar also working with smaller acts, perhaps opening groups locally in regards to Hotel Live? Can you talk a little bit more about how you've, the answer to that question, how you've paired people together? For the artists on the call, what might it take to get in with some of the Livestar shows?
Yes, absolutely. send me your info. Let's talk. I mean, again, there are certain players that I know that I've done shows with over the years that I gravitate to naturally. But there are others that have come out, to fruition here, and we've given them opportunities to perform, in front of some of the bigger shows. And I believe there's more to be done. I mean, there's so many artists, so many diverse artists in not only Calgary, but throughout Alberta that would love the opportunity to play. And we have that venue. And I certainly, as LiveStar Entertainment, bread and butter has always been talent buying and booking artists in a booking agency of sorts. I want to talk to you. One of my other mandates was to launch a national booking agency based out of Calgary. And that was the premise for LiveStar Entertainment after I left Invictus Entertainment Group, was to come back to Calgary and launch a major agency here that would service Calgarian artists and also national artists right across the country in all genres.
Great.
Well, and I can jump in on that and just sort of say briefly, as I did in the chat, I mean, we're a good example, the Heebie-Jeebies, of a local group that has received this opportunity, which is tremendous. But I also know that a lot of this is what the market will bear. I think this is a great opportunity that's gaining some momentum, and I'm excited with what Christine has been doing to offer some outside of the box thinking for events, because I know that with the Heebie-Jeebies and with a lot of the other great performers, including Joel here on the call, a lot of our bread and butter are corporate events. These are the gigs that you're paid to sometimes headline, sometimes be in the background for. And it's only with these events coming back in a creative way that it'll provide opportunities for artists to sustain themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll add to that. I mean, a prime example is this Friday and Saturday shows with a local Calgarian band,
Broken Toys.
Yeah, and then too, yeah. I mean, we're sold out on the Saturday night show here. We'll have nearly 200 people in attendance, and then on the Friday, I think there's 2, maybe 3 tickets left. So I think we'll get there, and we'll have 2 sold out shows. With Calgary-based artists, Greg Cox, Gil Tugas is also another one that we use. They're from Broken Toys, but I mean, this is it. We're selling out shows with local artists. It's not always financially feasible to be able to do that. And Lord knows, even in this case, I mean, there are times where we booked a big act and we flew them in and they did a great show, but we lost $5,000. Other times we made a couple. I mean, overall, it was sustainable, and it does need public and private sector involvement for this really to stand up on its own. And that's another reason why I want to bring everyone together, because as we do that, this concept can grow and it can be sustainable everywhere else, and we can grow it organically from within, with our local artists. Simply as that.
We've got another question hand raised here. Jeremy Durand. Jeremy, you want to chat with us?
Yeah. Hey, my name's Jeremy. Rob, actually, you and I have had some Penny Lane over the past.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you. I've watched Hotel Live kind of throughout this past year. It's been very, very interesting to see this go down, and really happy to see it go down, to see that you guys have come out, with out of the box solutions for this. As we've been involved with a lot of other types of shows over the past 10 years. Our format is normally, we don't do the live music band format, but we do a lot of big name DJ formats. And I know that you've done, Hotels Live with bands, the band format over the X amount of months now, but I wasn't aware that you did that DJ one with DJ Cobb over Halloween and whatnot. And I was wondering, like, how was that, and how did it go? Was it a different kind of experience compared to the band experiences, or does it work as well as the band experiences, or what's your thoughts on the different types of formats that this can host?
Yeah, well, good question. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, I'm a former DJ. That's where I started in this business back in the early '90s as DJ Fresh. So I've got a love for dance music, for the DJ scene as well, and have worked with some of the world's biggest DJ stars as well. So it's definitely a mandate that I want to bring back here, and we did it with DJ Cobb as AMP Radio's Halloween Bash. They are different events. I mean, the focus there is to dance and have fun and feel the thump and feel that energy and release in that way. Whereas bands are a little more engaging and they're participating, you know, in a different way. You know, we're gonna bring DJs here. We're gonna open up dance. We're gonna open up comedy. You know, we're gonna open up theater. So there's much to do here in the Atrium Commons Event Center at the Delta.
That's amazing, Rob. I'm happy to hear that. I'll definitely be reaching out to you after this.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I will add to the conversation, you know, as part of AHS regulations too, and it's for the time being of the restrictions until, you know, they lift. Any of our singers must wear a face covering or a mask. So when they do perform, that has to be up for the time being until we can go back to sort of a plexiglass sort of shield and so forth. So that was one of the conditions. So we have that in as a caveat, you know, between any of the artists that perform here for the time being. But we do have hopes that once restrictions do lift, that we can have other safeguards in place where everybody is feeling safe and protected, you know, in that way.
And let me say that for those of you who think that wearing a mask as a singer is a restriction, I can say that it's actually been positive because I usually get lost in the lyrics around the second verse. So it's a great way to cover up where you are and still maintain your professional decorum.
Yeah, or lip syncing. We could do lip syncing.
Yeah, exactly. Just run the track. Thanks, Rob.
Sorry, another question here from Jane's got a raised hand. Jane, you want to jump in here?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jane from Plain Jane Events. Hi. As Rob mentioned, I was lucky enough to work with him and George and, of course, Leslie and their whole entire team to bring the first ever rooftop drag show outdoors to Calgary, or to the province, or to Canada, I think, during Calgary Pride's 30th anniversary. So that was awesome. It was great. I want to mention that George and Rob were fantastic to work with, all from production side of things, having everything organized. For me, as an outsider, to come in to use their venue was very easy. They helped me tons. Rob handled all the AHS stuff, made it very simple for me. George is like the music and lighting guru, so he was all over it. All I had to do is find the entertainers, come up with the theme, all that fun creative stuff, and then just kind of say, here you go, and there was the show. So if any of you are looking to work with them in the future, I highly recommend it. They're easy to work with, super great, and they've kept in contact with me. I feel like they might want to work with me again in the future, so hopefully. Yeah, so I recommend working with them 100%. That's all.
Thanks, Jane. That's great.
Yeah, thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
And it's mutual. You know, you're very professional, and we've learned a lot from you as well. So thank you.
Christine, I want to come back to you. Something that I think is quite interesting is the fact that the Delta Hotels by Marriott Calgary South, I think I got that right, the full title of it, is independently owned. And you had mentioned it's owned by a local Calgary family. What do you think, for those, you know, looking to work with something like the Delta, that you guys can offer because of the fact you're independently owned, but also I think as people think outside the box of who can I partner with in this world that we find ourselves in, what's the benefits of being an independently owned situation?
We always have each other. meetings, but how I look at it, we get best of both worlds. We get the brand from the Marriott, so obviously that the standard for our cleaning and all of the COVID with our training, so we really can rely on that. But with the franchise and locally owned, we don't necessarily always have to follow all the policies. Because we are more of a locally owned company. It's hard to kind of explain. Maybe some people in the hotel industry would understand a little more, but we can do these type of events and think outside the box when the brand normally in a managed property might not be so quick to do these things, right? They kind of stick with the corporate or the meetings and this is the policy. You have to think we're completely reinventing what we normally do. We're a very corporate minded hotel normally. That's what we are known for. And now changing that market to keeping it very Alberta driven, staycations and everything is all, like you see the focus of local for our restaurants here as well. It's all definitely a family that we work together, and that's what we do. And for our staff, like every success of every show is, well, that's another person employed, and that's another. It's just a different mentality. It's not that, well, it's just the corporation paying for everything, who cares. No, this is all of us just really trying to keep a hotel afloat for very low occupancy. And so any events, that's why I say during the week, even if it's 30 rooms, that's 30 rooms that are extra for occupancy, whether that we add something small with it with some light entertainment or some food pairing, that all helps us. So it's not necessarily all the big wham bam shows, but just some of those things as well really keeps us. And so I think that's to me the biggest, where I'm happy to work for more on the independent, but I love the brand when I need the brand, right?
No, that's great. Larry's mentioned something here in the chat that it's nice that kids can attend as well. Mm-hmm. So I think those staycation packages that you refer to is a big thing that a lot of these shows that Rob has produced under LiveStar, but also that could be produced by other organizations and artists that are on this call. You do have the opportunity for family programming in this respect.
Absolutely. And in fact, I was moved to see and speak with some families as we would see them in the hallways the next day at checkout, and obviously we're all wearing masks, but we would see little ones, and we would hear maybe even on the way up when they're coming to the show that of course these are all ages events for the most part, unless specified, but people are able to bring their kids, and in a time where you can't get a babysitter because of COVID. Yep. What else are you going to do, right? So you can bring your kids to these events and you can enjoy. We had, for Halloween, we had like 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds all in costumes dancing with their parents, having fun. And the other thing that we're about to also announce here is the Delta is also pet friendly. So there are some exceptions that can be made, and there's some sort of guidance on that's being rolled out, but we're working on that too. Whereas you can't leave your family pet at home overnight, who's going to let them out? Well, you might be able to bring them here and they stay in their room, and you can still enjoy the show.
I can jump on that and say that I actually bought tickets to the Beatles Tribute Act before we got booked as the opening act for this, so it was a bonus that way. And we brought the whole family down. And to give you context, I've got a 12-year-old in grade 7 who actually thought it was the Beatles. I'm not going to tell him otherwise. And I've got a 9-year-old who we've actually kept back. She's schooling from home right now, so I think on the spectrum of how comfortable we as a family are with COVID safety, we're erring on the safer side. And everyone was having a great time. Everyone felt safe. Everyone loved the Caverners. They were just tremendous. And it was an all-around great evening and a great experience and a safe experience. And one that we tend to go to a lot of shows with me being at the Jubilee as well. So it was a nice thing for my family to get a chance to go out and enjoy it.
That's
I
great.
also look at being with the hotel with amenities when the pool was allowed to be open. We had a lot of people going to the hotel's live concert that would book early, they'd check in early, ask, and book a private, go in our pool with the water slide. So it really, you can use, it's not just the concert and that ticket price, you're getting a whole bunch of other things included. And then just to order the room service for the breakfast in bed the next morning, those are still all allowed right now, right?
I will say that we
Yeah,
did try the pool at the Ramada the next morning. It was a little late in the season.
Well, I have seen people jump in that one, but
Oh yeah, that was us.
was it?
that was great.
Yeah,
One other thing is we found this at the Ramada, and I'm sure we'll find that here at the Delta, is people would be encouraged to book a room, the night prior to or the night after, so they could actually create a bit of a more of a staycation experience and go explore Calgary. Maybe they're driving in from Edmonton or from Lethbridge, and this gives them an opportunity to see the city and enjoy it and get the benefits of a concert as well too. So I think we did have some impact economically on what we did. As I had mentioned, we brought in over $400,000 in gross ticket sales. What about all the people that filled up for gas or got coffee or went to the restaurant or did other things here in town? So just one initiative like this can really spiral into a lot of things, and it's great to see it grow.
Fantastic. I'm just watching the chat here. I think we've got to all the questions. If anybody had anything else they wanted to drop into the chat, or if you'd like to raise your hand and come up onto screen, that's fantastic. Rob and Christine, I might invite you guys, if you could share your email addresses. And Sam, if you could drop them into the chat for folks, just as folks are saying, hey, I want to get involved. I want to see how I could use this space. I have an idea for a fundraiser. I have a band, or whatever the case might be. How is the best way to get a hold of you guys?
For me, it is rob@livestar.ca, LIVESTAR, rob@livestar.ca.
Great.
Mine's a bit more of a mouthful, but it's cdairon, DAIRON, at deltacalgarysouth.com.
Perfect. So we'll drop those into the chat here. And by all means, if folks have questions, ideas, things they want to chat with directly to Christine and Rob about, we totally welcome that. Also, if you have questions on the Rise Up side of things, or anything in that respect, or ideas, we're always excited to hear things through Rise Up. So you can always get in touch with myself, which is Sherry at birdcreatives.com, or Kaylee, who's the project manager for Rise Up, which is Kaylee at birdcreatives.com. She is on this call as well. And we're always thrilled to hear about ideas and questions and help people along the way. And also, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, one other thing. If you're looking for more information, just to dive into, everything is on our website as well at www.hotelslive.ca. So, I mean, that sort of has everything there. And our social media handles at Facebook are fairly current too. So, if you want to do a little research or look into things, that's probably a good way to start.
Great. And you're also in the process of, I've seen versions of it, I think they're finished, pricing sheets as well, as on how some of the pricing works. As Hotels Alive has come into the Delta and put this infrastructure in place, they have this available for others for rent. So there is pricing sheets there, and I do believe there's an option for negotiation on nonprofits to use this space and the pricing as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. At this point, the pricing is negotiable on those, on a case-by-case basis. But as a template moving forward, we do have something that they may be able to put up after the conversation here as well, and then we'll put live. It was just sort of finished up last night, so it'll go live on our site here in a day or two.
Great. So people can find more information on, hey, I want to produce a such and such, and what's available. It gives you some idea on the standard pricing that way. So thanks for putting that together. I know things are all moving really fast for everyone these days, and always pivoting and morphing, but great to have the resources in place. Sam has also dropped into this chat about don't forget to enter the contest. So, as a thank you for participating and being here today, Rob is giving away a King Deluxe room for tomorrow night for the show. So be sure to send me an email by 4 p.m. today if you'd like to be entered in that draw, and we'll make the draw shortly thereafter, and we'll email the winner with all the details so that you'll know how to claim your prize and get a great experience in this space for tomorrow night.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll throw in there: we put New Year's Eve on sale. It sold out in 20 minutes. Two great local bands, Broken Toys and Jersey Boulevard. And because of the demand, we added a second show on January the 2nd. It's a Saturday night, so there's a day off in between New Year's. So there are some tickets, not a whole lot left for that one. So www.hotelslive.ca if you want to come and experience one of the next shows here.
You know what? I'll pile on that. We'll throw in tickets to Dave Kelly Live, where the Heebie Jeebies are going to be performing with Jan Arden and Jim Button and everybody on the 21st. It's actually free, but everyone is welcome to join us. It's in support of the food bank and some of the seniors organizations in town, but it'll be a kick at Christmas. So it should be wonderful.
Thanks, Jonathan. Anything from I think we're going to look to wrap up here. So I want to make sure that our panelists have the last say. Jonathan, anything you want to, add and wrap up with on your experience and thoughts moving ahead for Hotel Live?
Yeah, I want to try to look everybody in the eye as best as possible and say, hi, arts and creative industries, you are vital. You are an essential service. And know that you are doing great work, and it's a tough time to innovate. And I thank people like Rob and Christine for their innovation. I thank people like Sherry and her Bird Creative folks for bringing us together to try to solve this problem. It isn't insurmountable. It's going to take a little bit of time, but like everything historically, if you look back over it, all of these periods of darkness come out in a renaissance of art and culture. So that's the thought I would like to leave you with, other than my thanks, and a happy holidays to everybody.
Thanks, Jonathan. Christine, anything you'd like to add to wrap up for today?
Just really, I think with us, we're just very grateful for everyone's time today, but just in general, we're just trying to stay as positive as we can and just to be grateful coming into this holiday season. So I wish everyone a happy holiday.
Thanks, Christine. Rob?
Well, we know, these are tough times. A lot of people out there, they're hurting. We know that, music is there. Music is there for us. We can have a release, in this way we can gather, and we need it more than ever. And we're thankful that we have that to fall back on. We'll need it moving forward. There are dark days still ahead. We're not out of this yet. And we need to be vigilant, and we need to be respectful and kind to each other and continue that way. And let's truly rise up and be the best that we can be.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. I, on behalf of Rise Up and everyone on the call today, I'd like to say thank you for all of our panelists, for Tanya, who's been interpreting, and all of the registrants and guests here today. I hope that you've enjoyed this session. This is our last one for the year. We will be back in 2021. Our next Rise Up Relaunch Lunch is scheduled for January 21st. If you'd like to mark your calendars, that one is going to be a discussion on streaming and how organizations and artists have had to pivot to online, and what does that mean, and what have they done, how are they doing it, and what have they learned, as well as how do we make online engaging. And so that's what the conversation is going to be about. So I hope that you will join us then. Mark your calendars. Registration for that will open up the first week of January once everybody is back from the holidays. And so with that, I wish you all a very happy holidays, all the best for 2021, and we'll see you in January. Thanks so much for being here, everybody.